All right, so today we're going to do a little review and discuss question answer format. So, with question answer format, you need to use the words from the question in your answer, and it needs to be a complete sentence. The first one's pretty simple. What is your name? Well, we do have to make a couple changes to this because they're asking us our name, but really, we're using those words. Instead of saying your, I would say my name is Mrs. Stainer. Capitals and periods, of course. So the next question is a little bit more challenging. And the next question, it says, how do you feel about your family and why? So there's a couple different ways to do this, but we know we need to talk about our family and how we feel about them. Those are kind of the key words there. The why is going to come into play in a minute. All right? So how do you feel about your family and why? Now I could say, I feel like I am lucky to have such a great family. So that's a pretty good sentence so far. And you can see I'm thinking about how I feel about my family. You can see those words in there. I feel like I am lucky to have such a great family. Now, if I stop there, I'm not really explaining why. Anytime you see a why, you always want to have because in your answer. You're going to see a lot of questions like that where they'll ask kind of two parts or explain your thinking or something like that. And they really need to have a because in there. Because they make me feel so loved. So now I've got both parts covered. I used words from the question, and I even responded to that why. I just had to make an adjustment by using the word because. So that's kind of what we're going to be practicing today. We're going to be working on practice book page 36. So if you do not have practice book page 36, make sure you pause the video and go and grab that. Looks like this. What are my thoughts? So it's, in this case, we're doing a little response to literature. We're responding to Grandfather's Journey, but we want to make sure we're doing it in complete sentences. And we want to use the questions to help us sort of plan. That means we want to use that question answer format. How do I feel about the events in the story? So I know, getting back to that feeling, we have a lot of feeling words. Well, that's because we're responding to it. So I feel is going to be important to include. And obviously, what are we talking about? Events from the story. Okay? So I would start by saying, I feel the events, and I can adjust that. I could say of the story or from the story. I kind of like from the story. But you can see I'm still using a lot of those same words. So I feel the events from the story really helped me understand how grandfather felt. Now you may not think the same way. You do not have to copy mine, but you're welcome to if you want an example. But what I really want to point out is how I used those words. I feel the events from the story really helped me understand how grandfather felt. So for the next one, I'm not going to write the complete thing. I'm only going to do a sentence frame. So how do I feel about grandfather? And if you don't like the word feel, sometimes that's kind of a harder, you could say, I think. Because when you're thinking about grandfather, it's probably creating some feelings as well. So I want you to understand that there are some times where you can make adjustments to some of the words that are in the question but still sticking with that main idea. So we're really responding to how do we feel about grandfather. I feel that grandfather, and this is where you're now going to respond. You can use my sentence frame. I feel that grandfather, and then you think about the events of the story. Go back to that idea of the events of the story. We're responding to this story. So, do you feel that grandfather really loved being in two places? Do you feel that grandfather had a pretty happy life when he was in both places? Do you feel grandfather liked to be in one more than the other? So think about how you feel about grandfather and what you think about this story. It's kind of what we're connecting here, because not only are we doing question answer formats, but we're responding to literature. We're responding to this story. So again, if I go too fast, you can always pause. So the next one says, where does he travel? Well, this is easy. Where does he travel? He travels. And then you would complete the thought. Where does he travel? What are the places that he goes to in his life? Now, obviously, you may not be able to name every single place, but try to put some detail into it. Where does he travel? The next one, I'm not going to write anything, but I want you to think, what do I like about the story? Well, there's your real big idea. You want to make sure at least those words are in there. Down below, what else would I like to say about it? So now that it's got that else, you could think about replacing that with the word also. So what else would I like to say about it? I would also, okay, get the idea. Now you don't have to do it that way, but I want you to see, we've got a few sentence frames now. We're really working on responding in complete sentences with capitals and punctuation, but we also want you to understand the concept of question answer format, and that means to use some of those words in your response. All right, good luck, guys. I want you to finish this page up. Awesome.